It's the Undress Show. Yes, it's Wednesday night Undress, recorded live in front of an unnaturally semi-alive audience at Conroy's Emporium, where you can catch anything your heart desires. Hello, my fellow Undress. My name's Jeremy Taylor, and I'm here to host the talk show that pretends to care. And in an attempt to bring a soupçon of amusement and light to the shadows of the mundane reality here at Conroy's, we can look around us and reflect on how well we've all done to be here. The rotting floorboards, the chairs with nails sticking through the seats. Happy times. Our panel today, naked but not undressed. The very wise Dr. Orlando.
Hello.
Kathleen Taylor.
Hello.
The harmonica player from the Bulgarian supergroup, the Pheromones. Hello, Ivanov.
Yeah, I should bring my harmonica.
And fresh from his East Asia trip advising the Chinese president on the correct method to deep throat bananas, Tyler Durden.
Why do they never listen to me?
First, I want you to know, I know you all want to know what's been going on at Conroy's Bar during the week. Well, a funny thing happened the other day, actually. Weird, as Tyler would say. Weird it was. So Conroy's behind his bar drying off some glasses when a gorilla walks into the bar. That's weird, isn't it? Fancy that. Well, he asked Conroy for a scotch on the rocks, please. And then the gorilla hands Conroy a $10 bill. Well, Conroy thinks to himself, this gorilla can't know the price of drinks. He's a gorilla. And gives him 15 cents change. And the gorilla simply stands there and sips away at his scotch on the rocks, not saying anything. So Conroy says, we don't get too many gorillas in here. And the gorilla replies, well, $9.85 a drink, I'm not coming back either.
Oh, God. He gets quite a variety in here.
We're all primates,
right. So let's get on with the show. We're getting hundreds of hits every day on the Undress website. Clearly, this underlines the notion that thousands of folk who watch porn are, in fact, a seriously discriminating bunch. As it's been already very clear that Daniel Craig is totally over playing James Bond. He's quit the role. Commander Bond is no more and has to be reappointed. It's time for fans to start gossiping about who will replace him. Idris Elba has been one of the top choices for years, sick of speculation saying enough is enough, I can't talk about it anymore. And in the absence of any concrete casting news, fans have started using the next Bond hashtag to share their ideal casting choices. Believe it or not, X-Files star Gillian Anderson is the unexpected frontrunner.
Oh, come on.
Providing that sometimes the internet has surprisingly excellent taste. However, at 43 years old, Idris Elba may already be too old to start playing Bond, especially since the next actor will be expected to sign on for at least 3 movies. I've often thought I would like to see a committee of former Bonds mentor the new appointee, maybe in the form of a weekend retreat at an old country house, going through various tasks with the retired Bonds looking on. Not bad, Commander, Sean Connery says to Daniel Craig. I agree, Commander, Craig replies, as they watch the new Bond go through his or her paces. I'm not sure about a woman being our lead agent, though, says Roger Moore to George Lazenby. I think she'll do fine, Commander, says Lazenby. You were always old-fashioned. That may be, but the first Bond back at the casino would not approve. Dealing with people is part of the job, says Pierce Brosnan, who is sitting behind a large oak table addressing the potential female candidate. Oh, for God's sake, could you eliminate someone you've just made love to? Butts in Timothy Dalton. To or with, comes the reply from the prospective new Bond. In short, could James Bond be a woman?
Interesting.
Yeah. The thought of 4 Bonds sitting there mentoring somebody is really scary.
Yeah, I don't know about Anderson. Did you watch the new X-Files?
Yes.
What the heck's wrong with her face?
A
What
lot
is
of
wrong
Botox
with that
in
woman?
there. Yeah.
There's no most movement in her facial.
Plastic surgery.
Something's up, but no.
But she...
There's a lot of actors of that age who have had a lot of treatments, and they're not always
Well, but
wonderful.
her face, she's gone a little over the top, I think. I mean, she doesn't have the lion
I should
face.
look so good.
Well, it's like
I agree.
she's got less wrinkles now than she had when she was 15, and there's something deeply disturbing in that. It's like somebody ironed her with an iron, her face. So
An iron.
it's really weird. I don't know about how about James, the kid that was Dr. Xavier, James
McAvoy.
Yeah.
He would be a good choice, right?
You could be. I mean, you could throw in people like Michael Fassbender in there as well. But to answer your question, Jeremy, I would say absolutely a female could do it. I mean,
Right.
you look at something like someone like Scarlett Johansson. I mean, with her role as the Black Widow in the Avengers movies, it's clear that a female has the physical prowess to do the combat and the fighting scenes, what have you. And and somebody may complain about how, well, it should be a man because a man can kind of manipulate and kind of swoon a woman. Men are pretty much weak, and so if a hot woman comes up to them and tries and get anything from that guy, pretty much the guy's going to give it to her.
Oh yeah.
See, I disagree.
He's gonna give it to
I
her,
disagree.
all right.
I think
Haley
you're right
Atwell.
in that a woman can absolutely do the role. That's like beyond the measure of the question. Like you said, Black Widow is the prime example of someone who could pull off the spy role well. But there is a mythos surrounding James Bond, and it is that he is a womanizing guy.
Well, Scarlett
Okay, so
Johansson
let's
can
go with
objectify
that.
men with the best of them, you know.
So let's go with that. To an extent, he kind of has a sexist mythos behind him. So why can't you reverse those roles, and instead of a man treating a woman like a sex object, why couldn't it be a woman treating men like a sex object?
You have some dark
That's not
sexual
a-
fantasies, sir.
Not a problem at all.
That is why in my interview here, the interviewee says to or with. Would you be able to kill someone you have just made love to? And she responds, to or with.
So, aside from Scarlett Johansson, what other actress do you think would be good at this? Would be like
Haley.
Halle Berry, or
Haley Atwell,
who is she?
Agent Carter.
Oh.
Have you seen Agent Carter?
Oh, yeah.
She's
Yeah.
good, and she's very tough. Fights. She's got all the stuff there.
And when it comes to guys, I like your suggestion of Fassbender. He would be excellent.
He would be.
How about Kath's favorite porn actor, James Bondage? Have you heard of James Bondage? 007? 0069?
You know what I would have
Agent-
liked to see, but he's a bit old now. He's my
James
age.
Bondage.
Liam Neeson.
Oh no, he's way past.
He's past it now,
Yeah.
but
I
he
think
would have been
Roger
fantastic.
Moore was 58 when he's the oldest. He was 58 when he played his last role as James Bond, and I think how old is Liam? He's in his 60s, right? He's got to be 60 something. His hair is always black, but he's definitely over
Well, at
60.
least the hair on his head is.
Ah. Speaking of that, how about Donald Trump as James Bond? He's a sexist pig.
But he's not
And
English.
He would make
And
he would make actually the perfect
He wants
Bond
to,
villain.
Villain?
Yeah.
Okay, then,
I mean,
then
you talk
oh,
about-
Barack Obama as James Bond. God damn it! Have you seen this guy wear a
He's
suit?
gonna be available
He's
after
that bastard, so elegant.
January.
Imagine him as the silhouette.
Oh, yeah.
With the ears.
Oh, yeah.
You know, oh my God! He's already a badass. I mean, he's already assassinating supervillains. You know, he's using the drones. I mean, that guy's
It would be
made, and he's
fantastic.
gonna be out of work next year.
he's-
Perfect.
Uh-huh.
he's not
James
English.
Bond, Barack Obama.
I know.
Guys, come on, we
He's
got a petition.
He's got timing as an actor. You've seen him in the speeches,
Oh my God,
in the
he's perfect.
comedy.
So, do you think that the next James Bond has to be English?
Yes.
Do you think that a American with a sufficient accent could pull off the role?
Oh, come on.
Oh, possibly, but an American with an English accent, yes. But James Bond
The
has
character.
to be the character has to be English to work for the British, security
Well, that's a
services.
given. I mean, that's
Yeah. If I'm gonna assert that it has to be male, then I will agree that it has to be a Brit.
James Bondage is Irish, I think. The great porn actor James Bondage. So he kind of qualifies.
Now,
So if it's a
Henry
woman,
Cavill-
what is it going to be? Cosmopolitan, shaken and not stirred? Or is she going to just keep drinking
Oh, she just
martinis?
keeps drinking the martini.
Oh, really?
yeah. Why not?
Maybe switches to straight whiskey.
And there's no
Nice.
reason why a she can't drive the Aston Martin.
No.
Women can drive?
yeah.
What?
And honestly,
It's not St. Louis, you know.
if you were going to make it so that whoever signed on as James Bond had to do maybe like a 3-film deal, you could take someone younger like Jennifer Lawrence and kind of sculpt her a little bit. I think she could probably step into the role and just kind of really take it on.
I think they got to go for somebody less pretty if it's a woman James Bond. I don't
Really?
know about supermodel looking type actress, like Scarlett.
They're not going to choose a woman. I really don't think they are.
I would.
But they might have Superman. I don't think he's American. Henry
No,
Cavill?
Henry Cavill is not.
I know that even Thor was a woman in the latest comic, right?
Yes.
Really?
She is.
Thora?
Thora. Yeah. Or the holy book.
You see, it could well be someone we don't know. Daniel Craig.
Absolutely. And that would not
Wasn't-
surprise me the most, actually, if they just picked some unknown individual that nobody really knew of. Because that would probably actually make it even easier for the studio, because it would be less pressure from them. They would take less flack once it was announced who they picked.
It would take less
See,
money.
James, well, no, not Dalton, Lazenby. Lazenby was
George.
the Australian,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And he did one, didn't he?
that's true.
See, I think whoever they choose, it has to be a 180 departure from what we have now. Because Daniel Craig, although he did a great job, he kind of dowered the franchise. He made it very serious and very dark. I'm starting to long for Roger Moore years when there was so much humor, and I was thinking maybe they bring somebody that brings a little bit of humor. Like, I don't know whom. Benedict Cumberbatch would be good.
I'm
too big of a star.
saturated. I'm saturated with Cumberbatch. I'm still
you?
pissed that
I'm
he
sorry
was
about that.
he was cast as Khan. That still burns.
He's not that
He
athletic
should
enough.
have been Doctor Who, right? Benedict Cumberbatch would have been a perfect Doctor
He
Who.
would have been, but he was already much too big of a movie star.
Yeah.
What about the guy who does the late night, who was on Jon Stewart?
Are you talking about?
You're talking about the new host.
Colbert?
No, Stephen Colbert's American. No, the English guys.
Oh, you're talking
Corbin?
about John Oliver.
John Oliver. What about John Oliver?
Oh, he's more like Mr. Bean.
No,
Okay.
that would be genius.
Honestly, if you pick him, then you have to go back to this argument about attractiveness for James Bond.
Yeah.
Because I'm not saying he's
You
an
can just
uggo or
go
anything,
with
but,
Will Ferrell
but he's
and-
not exactly chiseled either.
You think you have to be chiseled?
Well, you have to be at least tall.
Oh, all right.
Barack Obama.
You have to have
Yeah.
you have to have an essence about you. You have to have an aura about you, and John Oliver just doesn't have it.
See, Kathleen and I happen to know someone who's maybe, whilst not a real James Bond, is a real hard ass. Is Paddy.
Oh, yeah, true.
And this is an interesting guy who I'll talk a little bit about. His name is Paddy Ashdown, Lord Ashdown. He was the leader of the Liberal Democrat Party in the United Kingdom. He eventually retired from that and was appointed as UN High Commissioner to the former Yugoslavia.
And he's lovely.
And she's in love with him, and has been for years. And Paddy, if you're listening to this, you know that. Now, the interesting thing was that he was then given, what's that place? The Russians and the Brits and the Americans. Oh, Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. He was appointed as UN High Commissioner to Afghanistan, but Karzai wouldn't let him go because Paddy, being ex-real special forces, has a habit of not agreeing with people, and when they decide to get heavy with him, they find themselves flying across the room. Now, someone like that, what about someone like, real heavy-duty man? Is there anybody we know who's a real person that could go into acting, perhaps?
That's a difficult question.
The world, I mean, you can look at Ronda Rousey,
Well, you could look at pretty much anybody from the WWE for that matter.
Yeah.
Like, those are really the only people that are real existing people that have really shown us any
We're
acting
all
chops.
overlooking the obvious one.
Tyler?
Sitting right here at this table. Not Tyler.
Oh, yeah.
Evo!
The Bulgarian accent, it's going to be great.
Okay.
I'm more of a villain.
Well, I want to put a shout out for the guy I think should be the next James Bond. This is a man who, in his late 20s, has served in the British military. He's internationally famous, stunningly good looking. The girls all love him. He's been a forward spotter for British Special Forces in Afghanistan, for real. He can fly a helicopter, for
I
real.
know who
He
this
knows who to
is.
do,
Prince
how
Harry?
to do it. Prince Harry.
Oh.
What do you think?
Yeah, the president of the Invictus Games. Yeah, he would be good.
And
Actually-
he has a perfect cover.
Perfect cover.
Our producer just kind of made a joke about it, but honestly, now that I think about it, Bear Grylls would be fantastic.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, you talk about a tough badass who could,
Survive anywhere.
who could survive anything.
Yeah,
And he's got a little bit of humor about himself,
yeah.
so he wouldn't be all dark and
He can make a tent in the wilderness out of a woman's bra.
yeah.
That's what you need.
Yeah, you need those
Large
kind of
woman.
skills.
Yeah.
It would be quite a large, as Kathleen says. He lives on an island off Wales. So we think James Bond could be a woman, possibly, but it's a sort of appointee. So the baddies, Putin's going to say, so you are the new James Bond. You say it. You be Putin.
So, you're the new James Bond.
See? It works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It works.
Evo's the perfect baddie.
Yeah, he makes a brilliant baddie. Talking about baddies, here's a serious question for you. When we say a war is over, at what point is it acceptable to kiss and make up? Is it after all the veterans who died during the fighting have passed away? Tokyo, two very different versions of hell that is war, are seared into the minds of World War II survivors on opposite sides of the Pacific. Hiroshima's people were walking like zombies, with their flesh scraped and severely burned, asking for help for water, and Japanese soldiers killing American captives on the infamous Bataan Death March in the Philippines in 1942. As one old boy said, if you didn't walk fast enough, you were killed. If you didn't say the right words, you were killed. And if you were killed, you were either shot to death, if you were lucky, bayoneted or decapitated. He still has the bamboo stick Japanese soldiers used to beat him across the face. Different experiences, different memories are handed down, spread by the media and taught in school. Collectively, they shape the differing reactions in the United States and Japan to Barack Obama's decision to become the first sitting American president to visit the memorial to atomic bomb victims in Hiroshima. Or in Vietnam, as Anthony Bourdain from CNN shares a meal with President Obama, with the president calling and actually lifting the arms embargo on Vietnam. Two versions, the Viet Congs and the Americans, French and Australians' view of a horrible war. President Barack Obama took a detour on his Asian trip Monday to go and have dinner with chef and adventurous eater Anthony Bourdain.
Who's surprisingly still alive after all the stuff he's eaten.
There are a lot of American vets who are complaining at the moment that their president is in Vietnam, let alone doing deals with the Vietnamese.
Wasn't that the reason we were there? So one day our president can visit and on a friendly diplomatic visit with the country. What are we supposed to do? I think it takes wounds don't heal very easy, and we to this day hate the Turks. Yeah. In my country, we have an ancient vendetta with the Turks, and it's been 200 years, and we still hate them.
Yeah. Do you guys still call it Constantinople?
Yeah, I do. We have issues after all these years because of years of oppression and torture and death.
You're asking about whether you should apologize. This is all this furor lately about whether, Japan wants an apology for dropping bombs on them. You should really, as a matter of habit, only apologize for things you're really sorry for, right? I mean, if you apologize,
you've done. I don't know if our generation has done that.
Sure. And while are they sorry that they did it, or are they still of the opinion that that's what was necessary and they'd do it again? So I have the feeling that they wouldn't do it differently a second time, that it was at the time considered necessary and probably still considered necessary.
Well, it's also cultural. Don't forget that the Japanese are very much a country of tradition and rituals, and apology means enormous. It has an enormously more meaning for them than it is for us.
Well, then they should get over it, for God's sake.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's not easy to get over it when so many people were scorched, to death.
No, not that. I meant the cultural thing about requiring face-saving apologies from people who wouldn't do it differently.
Well, and you look at Obama, I guess the symbolic gesture of apology is huge, but what is he supposed to do? Say that, I'm sorry that before I was born, somebody, took this decision, executive decision. What is his responsibility?
Well, I'm thinking that there's quite realistically a lot more to the story than just America dropped a bomb on Japan. There were precipitating factors on both sides that caused that to happen. Jeremy, I'm pretty sure that as you are a historian for World War II, that you could probably answer that a little bit better than anybody here, with the possible exception of Mr. Durden. Would a reasonable course of action for any victorious party in a war be to apologize for whatever methodology they used to win a war, and specifically for America in World War II.
I think somebody said, if you win, be magnanimous. Did the fact that the Japanese have been planning it for a long time, did the British and Americans know about it? Very probably. In our generation's lifetime, the younger ones here, may know the answer to that for certain, as opposed to maybe. But the bottom line is not just about Japan. I was more interested really actually in Vietnam. There is an American president sitting in Hanoi having a effectively like a takeout. How must the Americans who got badly maimed, who are my age, feel about that?
Well, I mean, we dropped a lot of napalm in Vietnam and maimed a lot of people there. I mean, Vietnam's been kind of a friendly country for quite a while, I think. They're one of those countries that have turned towards market economy, and you go to Vietnam and it's all Nikes and McDonald's is everywhere. We've kind of won the cultural and economic war a long time ago. And, I kind of have a feeling there's not an exact date of when the old wounds heal and people are ready to kiss and make up, like you said. But I have a feeling that once a country places their own player in the NBA, it's over. You've made up. You've made up. They're ready to forgive.
It's a good sign.
They will never, ever bomb you. And also another question, hypothetical. If Japan had the nuclear bomb, do you think they would have dumped it on us?
My view, I don't know what Tyler thinks, but my view is definitely.
Absolutely, they would. But let's go back to the Vietnam issue.
So it's interesting they don't even consider this. If they had those weapons, if the Germans had those weapons, the Japanese, they
the Germans were close to having it before we did anyway.
The Germans were much closer than a lot of people think.
If Hitler had actually diverted more funds into research and development like he should have, they would have had it back in probably about late 43.
Which is the only time that makes me happy that you were not a consultant for the Nazis during World War II.
Thank you.
I think.
But Jeremy, going back to your issue about Vietnam, I think, you asked the question about whether or not an apology is necessary, and actually I would say yes, it is. However, the apology is not necessary and it should not be directed towards the government and the country of Vietnam. If anything, our government owes an apology to our soldiers who fought in Vietnam. That's who's owed an apology because of things like the horrible planning that was undertaken, the things simply such as exchanging the M14 with the M16, which was a horrible weapon, which was not made for that kind of combat in that kind of climate and environment.
Oh, it's notoriously
When you talk about
bad.
who is owed an apology, that's who our government owes an apology to, is our own soldiers who fought and died in that war.
Yeah.
And that's,
There's so many things that the military are just shit at, and guns is one of them. When the Australians were involved, they were using a British weapon, which is standard for the Australians and the Brits and what have you, and we used them in Northern Ireland. And when the Americans could get their hands on them, they would use those as well because they didn't jam, they didn't mess up. There's all sorts of stuff. It's more, though, to see the president sitting there having, a Chinese, well, a Vietnamese, but, having a Chinese, and there are people who are my age who can remember, but I remember that time. I remember what I was doing 40 years ago, and who remember their friends who didn't come back. Whose his name was Bill, and he went through training with him, and then all of a sudden his head was blown off. Mm-hmm. We don't see that on the TV.
Yeah,
that's beside the point, though. The notion of being a soldier is that you are fighting in a war at somebody else's order. It's not that you've decided that.
Not if you're a conscript.
Well,
Very different if you're a conscript to being someone who volunteered.
No. That's not my point. My point is that as a soldier, you don't get to decide that all of the Vietnamese must die or that all Vietnamese are evil. You are fighting because you are ordered to fight, and you stop fighting because you're ordered to stop fighting. So the notion that they are still holding, that soldiers are still holding a grudge, while understandable from one human to another, risked my life and I saw other people lose their lives to this people is, again, is understandable. It should not have any bearing on the what's the word I'm looking for? The diplomatic efforts of the leaders of state.
And interestingly,
Agreed. I'm with that.
John Kerry was there on the front row
Yeah.
when the president was giving a speech with the president of Vietnam. There was Kerry,
Yeah.
who was a swift boat commander, and
Yeah.
what those idiots said about him, a lot of it wasn't true, and very
of it
few
was.
of us have the balls to sit on one of those little boats, and they're 20 feet long, 25 feet long,
have bullets
no
whistle.
more than
Yeah.
150 feet from the shore, where there's a guy with a heavy machine gun
Yeah.
at any moment could open up.
Oh, I was petrified just watching Apocalypse Now, let alone be there, and
Let alone be there for real.
Right.
yeah, it's really amazing, and it was a huge disgrace. The sweet
And you may
boating.
not like John McCain's politics, but we have no concept of what it's like to have gone through what he went through
Oh, yeah.
for 5 years. Whether he got there because he did something stupid doesn't matter. The fact is that
Matters
he
to
went
Trump.
through,
No, that would be implying that he cared what the truth was.
So the question is, when do we say it's all right? Because the Brits had this with the Germans. And I know my parents' generation, they were okay about dealing with the Germans.
Again, I would say the first step has to be that our government has to apologize to the soldiers who were taken and who were asked to fight a war that our government did not give them the ability to win, simply put.
Yeah.
And our government failed them. And a lot of men lost their lives in that war, not necessarily because the enemy was better, but because our government failed them.
Yeah, it was
So
incompetent.
that's the first step.
That's
But
the
what
first
is-
step.
What
Because
is the
then-
second step?
Well, because I believe if that were to occur first, then you wouldn't see as many veterans who would be up in arms right now with President Obama going to Vietnam.
I see.
I think that would be the first. I mean, that to me is the big wound that needs to be addressed.
Hasn't that sort of thing happened all through history? What about World War I?
Oh,
The millions who died in trenches because of dumb decisions here, there, and everywhere?
well, that's an endless topic, and it's
Well, even
huge.
currently, people not having the adequate armor for their vehicles while they're over in the Middle East.
True.
Well,
Well, even just you look at returned veterans and the horrible service that they get from their government,
Yeah.
and how you have to have all these private now foundations, what have you, for
We could
veterans
probably
of
go back
foreign
to
wars.
Genghis Khan or Genghis
So
Khan or
I'm
whatever
going
you
to
call him.
expand on what you're saying, and say that there's the current of frustration that the veterans are expressing at Obama for being in Vietnam has almost nothing to do with him being in Vietnam. It is frustration with their treatment by the government.
Agreed. I think that's the heart
it.
of the issue.
And I understand
I
some
see.
veterans being upset, but it really amuses me to no end when I jump on the internet like I did today. And
How do you jump
and
on the internet?
I just jump, I dive like Greg Louganis, and
Don't hit your head.
And you end up reading these angry posts from people who know their entire knowledge of Vietnamese comes from Lieutenant Dan.
Oh,
and and they
Ice
go into this
Ice
they,
cream!
they go into this
Lieutenant
complete
Dan, ice cream.
they go in this rage about Obama and conspiracies and how dare he go to Vietnam, and they know nothing about the history of it. So
You've been reading those posts by Dick,
by whom?
that Dick on the internet,
Who's that?
that Dick on the internet.
That Dick? Like anybody?
I would say there's a lot of
Are you
those on the
talking about
internet.
James Bondage again?
No, there's that same guy who just posts all over the place. His
Oh.
name is Dick.
Oh,
Then,
that's
yeah.
like every second
Yep.
guy.
Yes.
You
Well,
can
talking about let's move on. Talking about news and stuff. Kathleen yet again has let the side down by coming here wanting to talk about media stuff, and she never remembers all of the headlines.
Damn, Kath.
It's just
darn.
not right.
Damn.
And we've got Tyler Durden here at very great expense. And so I was wondering, perhaps, Kathleen, if you could see your way clear to sharing with some of us
Well, the first one is meant to horrify one person in particular who hates sharks. Giant shark just a few feet from tourists at popular blank beach resort.
A popular nudist.
I was going to go with Trump.
Bondi.
British.
Oh,
Really?
that's right. There's great.
Cornwall.
Yeah, that's right.
Just a few feet off
Yeah.
of the beach.
You're kidding me. I
Well, there was
didn't
one
get
in
that.
Falmouth, and then there was one
They
at
swam.
close to where we've
Did
been.
they ask for tea without human flesh?
Yeah. Then here's one to horrify the rest of you, okay? Horrifying moment, man blank, long blank, in front of stunned employees at DIY shop.
You had
Horrified moment. Man.
Drills his head.
Shot himself.
Keep trying, keep
Oh,
trying.
masturbated.
Oh, look at what he's...
Yeah.
Cuts his
No.
willy off? No.
No
That's the sort of thing
way.
Tyler Durden would do.
saws off
Oh, my
his
God.
own penis.
Well, I hope
Guess
he
it's better
got
than
a driver's
sawing
license.
somebody else's.
I hope he indicated he was a donor on his driver's license.
Oh, God. Oh. Who picked it up? That's what I want to know.
Oh my God, that's horrible. By the way, years ago, it was late 90s. I was at the DMV. A woman came in.
I like how we have the
We're going
topic
back
of
to
cutting
Vietnam.
off a penis, and yet somehow that reminds you of a story.
No, it's kind of a weirdly similar story. I was at the DMV waiting to renew my driver's license.
Oh, the DMV, not the DMZ.
No.
I thought we'd gone back to Vietnam. Sorry.
And this woman comes in, starts screaming at the people at the DMV people, then pulls down her pants and urinates in the middle of the DMV office here in Lawrence, Kansas. So I had this guy waiting next to me with his young son, and he just calmly covered his eyes. I, by the way, immediately called the newspaper. Being a journalist, called the newspaper and told them. And they sent the reporter, and while the reporter was talking, because the woman left, while the reporter was talking to the DMV people, the woman came back and started screaming again, and they had her arrested. So this was one of the top 10 stories of the year in the journal world in that year. It was like 97 or something. So interestingly
well-
related story.
Here's another related to that then,
Uh-huh.
to go on. Man blank, long blank, outside stranger's home as he's caught on camera with his trousers down.
He cut off his penis?
No, this one was not cutting off his penis. Does this sound
I heard
familiar?
about
Begin with a
that.
D.
No, like he had sex in a drain pipe or
That's
something like
it.
that.
Man has sex with drain pipe.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's-
Tyler
he's-
Durden watching CNN. Good
Ah,
job.
at somebody's.
Hey, look,
Jeez.
just because they caught me on film doing that.
Okay, here's a more innocuous one.
How
Why?
bizarre that I suppose, Americans would be able to do it with a drain pipe.
Yeah.
They're small enough.
Ah,
Ah, very good.
why is blank turning green? Blank,
Why
blank, blank.
is
Why is blank turning green?
The drain pipe?
No, it's not the drain pipe. It's not far off.
Why is...
It's actually
The water.
Iceland?
How about the Indian Ocean?
it's actually India's Taj Mahal.
Oh.
The big
right.
white thing. It's turning green. Turns out to be insect poop from the nearby polluted river.
Oh, what a surprise.
Yes. There you go.
Polluted river in India? No way.
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
Insects in India are big buggers.
Oh.
And when they poop, boy, do they
It's
poop.
only 3 insects, but it's got the whole Taj Mahal. That's enough. Yeah.
Okay,
Very
let's
good.
move on. It's a fact that the Zika virus is spreading into the US. It's a fact that babies are being born without most of, if not all of, a brain and are almost unable to function. In the real world, might this change the religious right's view on abortion when parents are faced with the prospect of being responsible for a severely deformed child who they'll have to be responsible for the rest of their lives?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. Not unless it becomes a huge epidemic.
No, not
But-
even then.
But I mean, yeah, I not at all.
What do you mean
The Zika virus. I mean,
You
you would
don't
have
think
to.
more people being told they're going to have a severely malformed child And these are
They're
not.
going to take care of it. They have to
You're
take care of
talking
Poor
about the-
people,
you're
you
talking
know,
about the
when that
people-
happens with poor people, they can say, "Oh, that's others." This is going to be people who get a mosquito bite.
But you're talking about people on the religious right. They are not going to all of a sudden give up their
No, I'm
viewpoint.
talking
I
about
have
the
to-
general laws in the country.
I have to, yeah. Well, it's not just the religious right. The question was the conservatives. So
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So we're talking about a group of people right now that will go against self-interest in the name of a misguided understanding of a
Agreed.
philosophy for the big things, and there shouldn't be any expectation that they're going to change their minds and all of a sudden act rationally and within their self-interest because this affects them personally.
Yeah, because it affects them personally. That's the only thing that actually gets to people.
If it
They
becomes an
may go
epidemic,
actually have abortions because of this, but they will never speak out against it.
Right.
And in fact, I would bet that you would see them speak out if someone who disagreed with their views went and had an abortion. They would sit there and say, "Well, God wanted you God meant for you to punish your child. That's why you have the Zika virus."
Okay.
But them themselves,
Yeah,
they will probably go get an abortion, but they'll never tell anybody
Admit
that's
it.
about
true.
it.
There's
Great-
a lot of
great hypocrisy.
Absolutely.
So a related question: how's it going to affect fetal tissue research? Because they really need to get tissue from fetuses in order to figure out how to make a vaccine, or this is never going to get cured.
I'm not sure I understand the question. Are you asking if that's going to change their opinion
There's
on
more
whether-
and more states now passing laws that
If you know that
completely
you're
prohibit
infected.
any research on any fetal tissue, much less obtaining it and selling it and so on. If you can't study what's happened inside a baby's brain when it's in the womb,
Infected.
then you can never, ever make a vaccination for that.
I think this goes to the point that I was making before, that we have a group of people that operate with a misunderstanding of what they perceive the principles behind their political movement is, that causes them to act against their self-interest. And there is quite literally nobody that I could think of that is a good example of saying, hey, this affects me personally. I mean, even our ex-vice president, what's his name, the guy with no heart?
Dick Cheney.
Dick Cheney. Staunch anti-gay
What's amazing is we
policies.
all recognized exactly who you meant.
His daughter
Yes.
is,
And his daughter's
is
gay.
Yeah.
It is not even that
You're right.
having the personal exposure to it causes them to change their mind. If anything, it seems to just make them dig their heels in further to say, this is the philosophy that I am standing by,
Yeah.
without really
What
even
about their
understanding
kids?
the philosophy.
What about the next generation?
Well, but think about how hard it is to enforce this issue as an abortion-worthy issue when your candidate for president is with a malformed brain.
This is true.
You know,
That's why all the hair. I just realized what
you
the
can
hair was
achieve
for.
anything with a malformed brain. You can be running for president. You know, so why abort the baby? You know.
Well, that's
Well, we did have Dan Quayle.
interesting.
There you go. There you go.
No, there's a difference between
There's no- the
brain
sky's the
there
limit,
and,
man.
and a lot of
the
air.
sky's the limit. We had W. You know.
The hits just keep on coming.
Interesting issue. But yeah, you're right.
It's going to get
complicated.
worse before it gets better.
I
Always
desperately
does.
need to earn some money, and so I'm wondering if Eva could help us with one of his inventions.
Oh yeah. So by the way, I found an investor for the Tuxedones.
Oh, right.
And you know, Tyler is not aware of the invention from last week, but we invented.
I just like the name. I don't even know what it is. I just like the name.
It's a shorts. It's tuxedo shorts for people that enjoy testicular exuberance at weddings, and you know they want space and they want comfort.
Let me get
and
my
they want-
checkbook. How much is that?
I want you to know I am actually having some made. And you think
made
I'm
some
joking? No,
tuxedos?
we are having some made.
Yes, and
so-
we have got the name to testicular exuberance for our own band. You can't
Yeah,
have
great
that,
name
right?
for a heavy metal band, Testicular
Yeah.
Exuberance. Yeah, so I was thinking, and I'm shocked that this has not been invented yet. Maybe it is, I don't know. But we're here in this fabulous establishment, enjoying the suspended ceilings, and I think you know
You
the
almost
ambience.
had Lewis at that one. He cracked up.
enjoying.
I was so confused for just a second. You realize we're in Conroy's, right?
enjoying the food and the beautiful suspended ceilings. I think there's a
I love the polka dot ceilings in here.
You know, at some point, I'm convinced that there's going to be a stain in the shape of the Last Supper on the suspended ceiling. Eventually, it's going to happen.
That's Frosty the Snowman right over there.
And millions of believers will come here to worship. In this cathedral of bad taste, but I was thinking, cathedral of bad taste, good name for a rock band. I was thinking, one of the joys of a bar are the bar games,
Yeah.
not the trivia game that we played, but the pinball machines. You know, the video games.
The darts on the wall.
Yeah, the darts, the pool tables, and all that stuff. And one of the staples, one of the most popular ones, without a doubt, are the claws. We have one right
claws?
here, Pirate's Chest.
The claw machine.
The claw machine. The claw machine.
Oh, claw.
For some reason, the claw, is stuffed with useless toys. Like stuffed animals.
Whoa. A Smurf football is not a
Smurf-
useless toy.
I know, Smurf football is good, but
He's been
mostly,
trying for that
there's,
for years.
mostly is things that we personally don't care about.
There's a Tigger.
No.
I can see.
There's a
No,
what?
my invention, guys. My invention that's going to revolutionize the bar experience, the pub experience. Why not stuff the claw machine with those little bottles from the airplane with alcohol? You know, little. I mean, come on. We will be playing like crazy.
Actually, that's not a bad idea because
It's a
honestly,
great
if
idea.
you owned the bar and
Yeah.
you had a machine like that, you would make buku cash.
Yeah, people will be playing this game. They will, without even noticing, they'll be spending their, $1 here, $1 there. And I'm not gonna pay for a drink. I'm gonna grab it. With for $1, and they will not because the
Even
bottles are
better
small.
if you fill up
Yeah.
some of those bottles, not all, just a select few with water.
Yeah.
And then it's just a gamble all the way around.
Yes.
So you may get a bottle and you may think, oh, I got booze coming. And then, oh, man,
I
it's
gotta
water.
think there's some law against
the
it
element of
somewhere.
surprise.
See, there you go.
And the unexpected. Oh.
You could put those machines anywhere,
And the
couldn't
dickery.
you?
See,
The dentist's office,
Well, we're in a bar. I should think it's
Oh.
legal. We need to ask Conroy.
at carnivals.
Conroy ever bothered to come out of
Yeah.
his little hole that he lives in?
At carnivals.
We
That's
would
how
be able
trolls
to
live.
ask him.
Yeah, carnivals, Chuck E. Cheese's.
Churches.
Churches.
They'd be very popular there.
Childcare.
Dude.
Childcare.
Have little bottles of red wine and in church. There you go. That's perfect.
Dude, we gotta start this
Not
business.
to mention you're raising money for the Lord.
Praise the Lord. I think I see a stain in the shape of the Last Supper right now. Right there.
See that one right up there? That's
Yeah,
definitely
I'm
the
going
Last
to make
Supper.
this happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my new invention, the claw machine with booze. I think it's a good idea. I think it's going to make somebody a lot of money.
Okay,
I
I'm-
can't believe it's not being.
I'm
Maybe it is
going to steal
invented.
this from you, but
Yes.
I will give you half the profit I make.
Yes.
Is that fair?
And
Absolutely.
then maybe next week I'll come along with the finished suit.
The tuxedo.
the tuxedo.
Tuxedos.
Yeah.
Tell me, I don't know what you think about this. I, being English, have family in England.
I hate that.
It's just how it is. And the story I'm about to talk about, I actually know the names, right? Bear that in mind. I know the names. Is it right that if you're wealthy enough and you commit an indiscretion in Europe and in a lot of media in America, you can buy the silence of the media? A married entertainer cheats on his wife with an actress. A-list celebrities rich enough to convince judges the truth should be hushed up. Hypocritical showbiz stars, sports idols, high-profile public figures, and so on. When they misbehave and things turn sour, they go for a gag order. Much more difficult, I know, here in America, but it still happens. But big deal in Europe, right across Europe, Australia and other countries, Canada. They can persuade judges who are often only too happy to oblige to keep the truth under a cloak of secrecy by taking out what are known as super injunctions and gag orders.
Gag
And I
order.
can tell you right now, here in America, that one of the most famous British musicians there is, okay, most famous, so wealthy that whenever even an American media outlet threatens to do something, they threaten to sue because he can't quite prove it.
Is
And
it
it'd be
Pete Townshend?
so expensive. No, more famous than him.
Oh, wow.
And it's not Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
Or an actor who,
Mr. Bean.
who had a threesome, who is currently one of the most famous British actors. Is it right?
Well, okay.
When someone has an indiscretion, commits an indiscretion.
To have a gag
You're asking
order.
this question as though it's something new. This has been going on for centuries upon centuries upon centuries.
Yeah, but
I mean, you think about anybody in the noble classes, in royalty, for centuries they've been able to use their money to shut people up and to stop the spread of rumors or allegations, what have you, in any form of media, whether it's
I don't
Or at least
really
try.
mind,
At least try.
but I think it ought to be a lot more expensive. I think to stop something, if you're that desperate, it should cost you exactly half of whatever you've got.
it's nearly
Total.
impossible with the internet to
Exactly
stop
half.
any kind of flow of ideas and information and rumors.
The
you know,
Illuminati
it's-
has done it for
Yeah.
since the beginning of the internet.
By the way, Gag Order is one of my favorite movies featuring James Bondage.
Cha-ching, yes.
I was gonna go with rock band name, but I like your joke better.
Tyler makes a good point. The wealthy and royalty and so on, and political.
Oh, absolutely.
politicos for a
Because
long,
anyone
long
with
time.
money or with a position of power, they've been able to
Clout.
do this for centuries upon centuries.
Yeah.
This is nothing new. And actually, probably the one thing that's becoming more common is, especially in American society is becoming more forgiving. So someone who commits an act that people want to at first judge as being immoral, yeah, maybe they have a negative view towards that person for a while, but then they are forgiven and they're allowed to go back and do whatever they were doing before.
It used to be so easy. If you had money and power, you just make the people disappear. And nowadays, it's pretty much impossible because once they drop something on the internet, it's there forever. It's going to circulate, and you can't
You can
track
still
the.
make people disappear.
You can still make people
He's-
disappear.
It sounds
but
like somebody
the
who has some
information.
experience in this area.
He's
Oh,
Tyler
yeah.
Durden. He knows about these
yeah.
things.
He works for
We
Putin.
both have.
I can't talk about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean,
And I shouldn't.
JFK.
Exactly. Look what
yeah,
he did.
Yeah, it's not clear really what he did, but
Hell, look
there's
what Bill
a
Clinton
lot
did,
of.
for God's sakes.
Yeah,
I mean,
and-
we all know what he did. And
Yeah.
yet, did the American populace care? No, we didn't care. Yeah, there were
Well,
people
what
who
he
maybe
did
complaining.
wasn't that bad.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
when it comes to
interesting,
adultery,
though, isn't it?
I mean, ideally, it's
it-
not that bad, but it's still something that.
So Clinton gets outed for getting a blowjob off an intern.
Yeah,
Well, not to mention, he also had
You don't think
extramarital
Trump's
affairs.
ever
with
had
other-
that
but those are
Those are-
And Trump has had those, by the
rumors
way.
and innuendos and probably happened. But the girl,
Linda Tripp happened.
the girl who did it. But what about Hillary Clinton? She was sitting on a settee one day and planted her knees for some young intern.
There's no doubt in my mind.
What would happen then?
There's no doubt in my mind that she probably, had the-
Parted her knees. Is the
If
phrase.
there's,
put it
if there's
that
no
way.
doubt in
Yes.
your mind, then you shouldn't throw a probably in there. There is doubt in your mind.
All right, then there is no doubt in my mind. Period.
who I was thinking if
that's
she
gross.
she's giving
Don't be thinking that, listeners.
She-
that was gross.
Don't
she's
go there.
giving she's saying that she's going to give Bill Clinton a lot of power in running the economy, and which is kind of cool because we had this was an era of unprecedented economic success for the United States during his 2 mandates. But I was thinking if he gets a say in who is going to be the vice president, I think Scarlett Johansson has a shot.
Hey.
You know, and then I was thinking if Trump goes for Chris Christie can wear the Oval Office.
Oh, dear.
Oh, bad.
my.
I know. It
I
was
know.
bad.
I
It wasn't as bad as the gorilla.
He'll never put
joke.
Chris Christie as his vice president, will he?
I don't know. Hulk Hogan, maybe.
Guys, don't
Trump
talk
Hogan?
about
We're
what
going-
he won't do.
we're-
We just spent a whole 6 months saying that he would never possibly be the nominee.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I want to watch some
So-
James Bondage.
Yeah, we go back to James
I
Bond.
want to
Trump
watch James
Bondage.
Bondage with double ho 7.
007.
Ooh.
Oh, man.
I think we've done it for tonight, and as always, we start with it down low, and we reflect on where we are and what we're doing. And as I said at the time, looking around at the old chairs and tables and the broken floorboards and the sackcloth on the windows here in what we love to call Conroy's. Happy times.
Yeah.
But to bring us back to the real world, I want to take us over to that man, that Dr. Orlando, for the final part of the show tonight, ladies and gentlemen, to save you going to church on Sunday, the Word.
Brothers and sisters, we are here again with yet another word. This week's word is thermometer. Tromometer.
Looked up how to pronounce it. It's not
I
Well, of course,
tromometer.
in fact, that is not.
Tromometer.
It's a tromometer.
No, it's a thermometer.
Thermometer.
Tromometer.
Thermometer.
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 What are your possibilities?
Thermometer is either a device that measures bone density, a device that measures tremors, or a device that measures paper clip thickness.
Oh, it's got to be 3. The matter of principle.
It's number 1.
It has to be 3. Our producer team, by the way, are voting
Yeah. I'm going to
1
go
and
with
2.
bone
A 1 and a
density.
2.
Bone density.
bond density.
Bone.
Bone density. Oh, right.
Bone density.
What
Bone
the,
density is a
what the
good
hell? I'm
one.
going to go with 3.
I'm going with 3. Tyler and Jeremy
Our
both going with 3.
I'm going with
Technical
1.
team has it correct. It is a device that measures tremors.
How boring.
Double bluffed us. You did.
Completely
Oh, well done.
did. It is from the Greek
boring.
word tromos,
Dr. Orlando.
which means trembling.
Yeah. I have a very quick story about Conroy's as we were talking about the environment here. 2 years ago, Conroy's had an accident in the adjacent building. They had a sewage pipe flood. It burst, the sewage pipe burst, and Conroy was telling me this on the next day. He said it was incredible. Sewage pipe, everything was flooded. And he said, I have the best customers. And this is a true story, guys. He looked at me, he said, I had the best customers. We had a bunch of people here. Nobody left. Nobody. and
You realize the customers around are looking a little horrified.
And I looked at him and I said, well, they didn't notice.
I want to thank our panel as always. And our sound and editing team, Neil Rasmussen and Eric Holcomb. Tom Conroy, of course, for letting us do this every week. Do come and try his steak fries and for running probably the coolest pub in the region. From me, your host, Jeremy Taylor, I won't say thank you for listening. You already know you're going to be back more like... It's just like watching porn. You know you can't help yourselves.
Dude, you got a problem.
I know.
You and James Bondage.
Thank you.
Yay.